In the world of Hollywood, movies get greenlit and redlit. They get remade and rebooted. But we are the ideal. I'm Sam Gasch, and you are listening to Ideal Remake. Thank you for listening to Ideal Remake. We take movies that either have been, will be, or should be remade and talk about what the ideal version of that remake would be. Now, if this podcast takes more than 5 minutes, just keep listening. So, Lucé and Cozi, is Ace Ventura: Pet Detective a movie that has been, will be, or should be remade?
It has not been remade yet. There was a sequel, Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, and there was a cartoon from 1995 to 2000.
There's also a video game, an adventure game.
I didn't know there was a video game.
Was it any good?
People online said it was pretty good on some levels and bad on some other levels.
Sounds like a movie adaptation into a video game.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Better than I think people were assuming. Also, 2009's Ace Ventura: Pet Detective Jr.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yep, that's right. We're bringing up the real shit.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's a Son of the Mask also. I think it's funny that both of those movies needed like a younger version.
It's so sad. It looks very Disney-fied.
Yeah, they just want to appeal to kids so badly.
So badly.
So I guess my first question should be, when did you first see this movie?
Ooh, I saw when it came out on tape. So it would have been 94 or 95. Just like as soon as it was like a new to tape.
Cozi?
Nice. I think I saw it in theaters, but I don't really remember anything except being like, cool, I liked this. So when I rewatched it, I learned a lot about the movie.
Yeah, I saw the second one in the theater, but I think my parents were pretty strict about adhering to like the MPAA codes. So I wasn't really allowed to see PG-13 movies until I was like in middle school.
Got it.
Oh.
I don't think I saw this movie in full until I was an adult. Like, I think I saw this movie for the first time 2 years ago.
Oh, my God.
That's amazing.
I can't imagine that. Like, what did you think?
I think my review, and it's going to be the same as my review from today, is this movie hits some incredible highs, but also some incredible lows. And it just comes and goes.
Oh, Lord.
Absolutely.
I have an inside baseball question, Sam, for you very quickly.
What's up?
The MPAA rating thing reminded me of Casa Video in Tucson. Do you remember? Yep. Do you remember the poster that they had when you walk in the store, where they show like visual representation versions of all the Lucé remembers this one.
It was at my video store, yeah, where it was like the rated R had like a couple of adults,
rabbit?
and then yes, and then the X was just like one, like the rabbit in sunglasses.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad that was a thing. That's how I learned a lot.
I know what you're talking about,
rabbits.
But I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, fair. Very fair.
I mean, now all I can think of are those like bunny shorts where they would like do a spoof of a movie, like here's Titanic in 3 minutes or 60 seconds.
Those
were
adorable.
like bunnies. Those were adorable.
Anyway, yes.
so yeah, it's an interesting movie, and
I should say that I'm a huge Jim Carrey stan. Like I discovered comedy through Jim Carrey, and I saw all of his movies multiple times as a kid. I still love him to this day. I think he's like one of the most talented comedic performers that there is. And I think that he's very, very funny in this movie. And I don't think the movie is good. Like, I don't think the story is good. I don't think the writing is good. I think the only thing good about this movie is Jim Carrey's incredible cartoonish comedic chops.
I think that had been my review when I saw it for the first time as well. I actually don't completely believe that anymore. But I'm also...
That's fair.
I am also a huge Jim Carrey fan. Like, Man in the Moon, Truman Show are masterpieces.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
Aren't the ones that I love as much, but yes, I really love his silly movies.
We should take a step back, because the reason that this episode exists at all is because I was listening to your podcast and you were talking about having recently rewatched Ace Ventura. So since I bring that up, do you want to briefly talk about your things, and then we'll get into how we're going to remake this thing?
Oh, sure. Well, Cozi and I host the podcast You Need to See This. It's a film podcast about underrated gems. That episode was not about Ace Ventura, but we have a section at the end of the podcast where we recommend what we saw that week. And sometimes recommendations devolve into things we don't recommend because we see a lot of junk also. So I think that week, I also have like a thing I do on Instagram and Twitter called VHS, where I watch my whole tape collection because I love VHS tapes and I have like over 400 of them. So I was watching them alphabetically and I was at Ace Ventura. So I watched it with a whole group of people online and I knew it was transphobic, but I did not realize until I rewatched it again how truly hateful and abusive and awful it was. And so for a long time I wanted to rewrite it because I think that Jim Carrey is so funny and I want Jim Carrey to still get to be that character. I think the character Ace Ventura is funny, and I want it to be in a better script. So I was talking about that on the podcast. So here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. The gimmick of our podcast is, for those who haven't heard it before, is at least, one of us has never seen the movie and the other person has seen the movie, and the person who's seen it tries to convince the other person to see it.
Yeah.
Got it. So then the next question is, what is the best Jim Carrey movie?
I think that you have to break up his movies into his like true zany comedies and then like because you can't compare something like Dumb and Dumber to Eternal Sunshine. That's apples and oranges. Technically, Eternal Sunshine's the better movie if you're talking about like film, but like, is it funnier? No. Like, I think my favorite Jim Carrey, if we're talking Jim Carrey movies, is Cable Guy. I love Cable Guy. I think it is a dark horse. I think it's hysterical. I love the character. I love his lisp. I love every single thing about it. And it's a movie that I can probably do for you guys. Like I could do a theatrical acoustic version for you right now.
Have you seen Cable Guy?
I was fine with it. It didn't work for me as a dark comedy the same way it worked for a lot of folks. But I don't know. Like, I remember being a Jim Carrey fan growing up. I watched all of those movies, all the classics that everybody watched. And then I sort of like watched all the things that he grew in and the things that kind of got him to a different place up to now. And honestly, I don't know what the best one for me would be, because like even in a movie like Eternal Sunshine, which is my favorite of his movies, like that's an easy favorite. I don't think that he was necessarily my favorite part of it, and his ways of...
I love him in that, though. He's so sad. His face, all stretched out from years of being goofy, is so, like, floppy and folded. I love it.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I just didn't like their relationship in so many ways. It was such a negative, abusive, bad, shitty relationship, and I was, like, not having fun watching either of them in it. It was a sadder movie than I remembered, and it wasn't as lovey, and it was more like, oh, these people are bad for each other and should leave.
Okay, then, Cozi, what's your favorite Jim Carrey movie?
I mean, it's still that one. Like I said, it's that movie. It's just, he's not my favorite part of it. The director and the writer are my favorite parts of it.
Right, okay, so what's the movie where Jim Carrey is, the movie that you like that is your favorite, performance?
Gotcha.
Performance by a Jim Carrey. Or, I will extend this, a James Carrey is also acceptable.
Oh my. I would have to rewatch them. It's been too long. Like, I remember liking Once Bitten a lot, and that says a lot about me and my lack of memory.
Wow, you're picking the one from before he was a name.
Yeah.
Classic Cozi. That's such a Cozi move.
I know.
Cozi in Living Color.
In Living Color, yeah.
See, I never saw In Living Color.
I had a friend who had it on DVD when I was in high school, and we would watch it. I was like, oh my god, his name's not Jim here! Woo!
I remember renting a movie from a video store, and this may not be a thing. I have tried to look this up, and I don't know if this is real. I remember a drama that he was in that was really sad and dark, and he was not being funny in it all, and being like, oh, cool, what a weird deep cut of Jim Carrey, but I haven't been able to find that on his IMDb.
Oh. Yeah,
Interesting.
so maybe it wasn't him.
Yeah, it was like Faces in the Mirror or Faces of Death. There's some face thing, but
Definitely
not those
was not
movies.
Faces of Death.
Yeah, no, something with faces. That's all I got. But it was really weird to see. Maybe it was someone else. Who knows?
Have you guys, either of you seen The Number 23?
No, but I thought about it.
Oh my God. That's my favorite bad actually bad Jim Carrey movie. It is so fun. It's so stupid. It's like this psychological thriller where he realizes like all the numbers in his life add up to 23 and it like means some larger chaotic conspiracy. But so much of the movie is him looking at addresses and being like 17, 4, 2. It's just like him doing simple math around like any number that he's like, this is bus 11 and I'm on 12th Street, number 63. Like,
Jesus Christ.
So funny. I love that movie. It's
when I saw the trailer for that. When I saw the trailer, I was like, "Oh, this is his 1 hour photo."
Oh my God. Yes, but it's like the B version of that.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was watching Ace Ventura again, though, I wrote like a page of notes and have so many fucking opinions about this movie. Jesus Christ.
We'll get to that in a second. I will say that, like I said, I'm a big fan of Man of the Moon and Truman Show, but my favorite Jim Carrey movie that I can pretty much watch at the drop of a hat is The Mask.
I love The Mask. We were just talking about that on our latest episode that comes out.
I can't imagine why it was at the top of your mind.
So I love the animation. I love the Tex Avery animation style that they utilize is so great.
It's also because I like it, and I've kind of realized that I like it partly because it's a combination of his dramatic characters and his comedic characters, in that he is playing all these ridiculous things, but is slightly less of an actual asshole.
Yeah, Stanley Ipkiss is like kind of a sad, sweet dude.
Yeah, and so it's like, what if one of his dramatic characters got thrown into one of his comedies? Here's the movie.
That's a really clever way of putting it. I like that. I want to rewatch it now with that idea in my mind.
I do too, now that I just made it up. But so with that in mind, what I normally do is we kind of talk through the remake of the movie itself, and then we get into casting, and we're still going to do that today. But I want to give us one caveat in that I think we should talk about who's playing Ace Ventura first, because I do think it should be someone other than Jim Carrey.
I have 3 recommendations.
Yeah, I normally limit people to one, but for this one, we're going to get into it. Like when we get into actual casting, you can pick one. But for this one, you're welcome to go first if you like, but I will give you a heads up that my Ace Ventura is female.
Oh, fun. What? Yeah. Who? No, you say it. Who?
So I felt like the obvious choice for this would be Kate McKinnon, just because you want kind of that zany comedy and also someone who can kind of bring it down. But that felt like the obvious choice, and so that's why I instead went with Ilana Glazer.
And the reason why, those are both great choices.
The reason why is because I kind of want that very broad comedy, broad city joke not intended. And I picked Ilana Glazer just because, like, she's a little bit different than the kind of expected. Like, I think she could get really charactered up and be like just nuts. Whereas Kate McKinnon, even when she's charactered up, you're like, that's Kate McKinnon.
Yeah, she's great. She kind of does the same thing in every role. She's always great. But yeah, I see what you mean.
So my pitch is Ilana Glazer. I actually gender swapped a couple of these people, but we'll get to that later.
I love that.
But so the reason why I wanted to talk about the Ace Ventura character first is because that kind of sets the basis for the entire movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So who did you two have for Ace Ventura?
Okay, well, I knew we were going to have to recast Jim Carrey, but I also wanted to think about what if it was Jim Carrey as a 60-year-old playing that character.
Yes.
Because I think that is a very bizarre and interesting thought experiment. Because he was like 34, 32. He was really young. So that was something that was in my mind. My other 2 choices were Andy Samberg. We already talked about how great he was, because I think he has the ability. He is that big, crazy, broad. He has a giant mouth, and Jim Carrey has a huge mouth, and like certain lines that are the funniest parts. I think the funniest quotes. Seeing him doing those things with his mouth, I think would be very funny. And then I had a outsider kind of perspective, a non-comedian who's very weird and funny, Ezra Miller.
Oh. Got it.
yeah.
That is a left field
we could talk
choice.
about Kevin, Perks of Wallflower, and he plays the Flash in like the new Flash things. Those are I'm tossing them out. I'm not married to either of them. I wanted to think of a comedian, but then I wanted to think of like a non-comedian who was very zany and weird. And that's Ezra Miller's a very zany, strange person.
Yeah, I think that's a good selection of options. Cozi, who did you have?
Okay, let's see. I got a couple of things going on with this. First of all, Lucé's idea with the 58-year-old philosophical weirdo, his actual age right now, I was definitely thinking about that too.
Oh, wow, that's so fun.
Yeah, because he's such a specific philosophical weirdo now. He's like nihilist and strange, and like it's such a great perspective. And I would want to name it after my favorite song from the emo band Running Shoes, which is Ace Ventura Get Perspective. It's such a fucking perfect name from a perfect band, and it's great for who he is. They wrote it before he became who he is now, too. They wouldn't have known. They couldn't have possibly.
I mean, it is a Jim Carrey post-documentary about Jim Carrey.
Yes, please. So that was my first thought on it, but then I kind of settled into the more like straight up remake. And I also did a gender swap casting on a bunch of folks. So my thought on this character, who I realized I don't like a lot, because Jesus Christ.
You don't like Ace Ventura, or you don't like the person you picked for the remake?
Oh, I don't like Ace Ventura a lot.
Yeah, no. Ace Ventura is a straight up dick. Like, he's an asshole, and I also hate him.
Yeah, what I realized is that he's a hyper-confident guy who is made of weird mannerisms, and everything is fucking hyper-exaggerated, even when he's alone, and he's prickly to everybody, and, I'm not a fan.
That's such a great point.
So then who did you cast?
So I ended up casting someone who has done a good job of hyper-confident and weird, but I think would do a better kind of weird, and that would be Margot Robbie from Birds of Prey.
Yes.
That's an interesting choice.
Thank you. I love that choice.
Thank you.
That's my new favorite choice. Sorry.
Oh. I appreciate that. I was really trying to distill what this movie actually was.
Think of that. But yes, it's definitely like just another sort of version of Harley Quinn.
Yeah. that's what I bump up against. It's just her doing the same character again, but in a different setting. Yeah. Which is why it doesn't appeal as much to me.
And it's not even that different of a setting because she's against cops.
Sure.
Yeah.
I am going to soft dismiss Jim Carrey, because if we make it with Jim Carrey, it's not a remake, it's a sequel.
That's a good point. We just had to say it, Sam, okay?
I understand and I respect that, but part of the reason why I'm trying to get as far away from Jim Carrey as possible is because I don't like a lot of the things that happen in this movie. Yeah. I think this is a movie that, when it came out in the 90s, absolutely blew the doors off everything. It's amazingly hilarious. I can see why this is just quoted nonstop forever. But you watch it again now and you're like, ooh, none of this.
Yeah, this movie was very much like engineered to be
awful.
Yeah, this movie is meant to be like engineered as meant to be cool to tweens in the 90s. It's got like a funny straight white guy acting confident with cursing and unmotivated sex and guitar solos and transphobic jokes.
Guitar solos. I know.
It's so fucking 90s.
They have Cannibal Corpse? Is that the show that he goes to?
Yeah, amazing. I was so glad he went to fucking Cannibal Corpse.
I did not remember that. I was rewatching it. I was like, what? Cannibal Corpse? Like, I didn't realize, but it turns out Florida is like a hotbed for death metal. It's like the beginning of death metal happened in Florida.
Really?
A version of that makes a lot of sense to me.
It actually does. I understand why they're so angry.
Yeah.
So our options are Margot Robbie, Andy Samberg, and Ilana Glazer. So of those three, where are you two leaning? Like, how are you feeling? What feels like, not trying to recapture what the spirit was of the 90s, but would be kind of like the 2020, well, let's be honest, the 2021 version of what this movie would be?
I like that you're like, I don't know if we could cast it, write it, and film it this year. So honestly, it'll be a 2021
I feel like 2020 is kind of just a wash, and we're like, all right, let's just make it through this year. Let's actually start doing better and new things next year.
Yeah.
I have a weird question for you, and you've gotten this before, I'm sure. The ideal remake of something has to be 2020? Or could the most ideal version of it have been at another time when, say, Andy Samberg was maybe a little younger?
The idea is that this is like the whole premise behind this podcast is that remakes.
No,
seriously,
we're monsters.
Look, the basic idea is remakes exist in Hollywood. They're going to exist. There's nothing we can do to stop them. But inherently, they're often bad. And in order to make them good, I want it to be something where you care about the material, you cast it well, and you put a lot of thought and energy into it. You're not just doing it because it's the big name thing.
Of course. Right.
And so for me, I can't make a remake have happened in the past. It's if we are remaking this movie now, today, what is the best way to make that movie? Because even if we were remaking it 5-10 years ago, it's already dated again.
Totally.
The only time we've ever done that was for the episode that literally drops tomorrow. And it'll be the first and probably only time I ever do that, with the exception of other potential April Fool's Day episodes.
That's so funny.
So the idea is that if we are making this movie again, if Hollywood is forcing this movie to exist once more, how can we make it the best way possible?
Well, and Cozi, you know what I just realized from what you said is that I forgot that you don't watch TV. So you don't know that Andy Samberg's doing his best work right now on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, that is true.
I have heard that to be the case, absolutely. That
is true, but I would also argue that he was doing his best work 2 seasons ago.
Oh, really? Oh, man, yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's a show I feel like I can't be objective about because it makes me laugh consistently, start to finish, every episode. And
I love that show. A couple years ago, I wrote a spec episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And I was like right on board right until the end of last season, and then this season I watched the first couple episodes, and I ended up stopping because the show lost me.
Oh no! Well, the newest episode is a Halloween heist episode. Those are obviously
I do love those. I may come back to that.
It's very clever. They shift the structure that they usually use for it.
All right, fine. You've convinced me. I will watch the Halloween episode.
So that's like bringing our podcast into it.
Yes.
So I agree that yes, and I actually do think Andy Samberg is really good casting, but I also like the idea of making Ace Ventura female, and part of the reason for that is because one of the things this movie is going to have a hard time escaping is the fact that this original is transphobic, homophobic. It makes fun of the mentally challenged. It's sexist. Yeah. It's misogynist. Jim Carrey literally nags Courtney Cox in this movie, and then it works.
Yeah.
It's
after her friend dies.
Yeah.
That's the first thing they do is have sex after her friend dies. It's terrible.
It is dismissive of animal trafficking. It is, I'm sorry, it has become a bad movie in the 26 years.
You know what's so funny is that the animal trafficking, though, it's even worse than what you see in the movie because they got all the animals for that movie from the fucking gross private zoo in Tiger King.
Oh, God, really?
Not Joe Exotic's zoo, but Doc Antle's zoo, which is a cult where he indoctrinates women and holds them hostage to work at his zoo. He supplied all the animals for that movie. They talk about it on Tiger King. And I was like, how could Ace Ventura get worse? Oh, they could actually support this, living, misogynist, abusive nightmare person in real life.
Well, because Ace Ventura is himself a hoarder. He has all of these animals in an apartment that should not have all of these animals. And then they find someone who has been trafficking animals, but because he didn't have this specific one, it's fine.
I know.
Can I mention that this movie could have very easily worked as Ace Ventura regular detective?
Okay, so we're going to get into this, but basically, Ace Ventura is a soft remake of Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Ace Ventura is Sherlock Holmes, but he solves pet crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what the writer was looking to do.
Yeah, and you can even tell, so there's... I think there's 3 scenes in this movie that I would kind of keep as is because I love them. And it's the first scene where he steals the dog.
Very funny.
The scene where he's solving the fact, like, this guy was murdered, and he's standing on the balcony closing the door and screaming. I love that. It's super Sherlock Holmes. And I'm not gonna lie, when he goes and finds the shark and he Mission Impossibles over the balcony and kind of sneaks around and back for no reason at all, I just think it's dumb, but I like it.
That part's so funny. The shark gag, I think, is hysterical.
Yeah, I enjoy all of that.
It is nice to see him doing his job well.
Yes, everything else is bad. But with that in mind, getting back to the point at hand of, like, if we're doing this right now, and we're remaking it right now, comedic sensibilities have shifted a little bit, and it's...
A lot.
People don't always necessarily... I would say people don't always associate with zaniness that much, but Andy Samberg actually proves that wrong, because Andy Samberg is as zany as possible, and people still love it.
Mm-hmm.
So...
What I would argue... Well, here's 2 things, is that I love Ilana Glazer, and I am in love with Margot Robbie, and I think they would both make great choices, surprising choices I didn't even consider. So I love those ideas. There's a part of me that has this, like, now they're remaking Ace Ventura, but it's with a woman. Feminism. Like, it just feels so marketed to me. It feels so like, this is what we're doing for women. This is how it's a progressive movie. And obviously, because it's us and not Paramount, it's not like, you guys aren't the ones. But I'm thinking of it as, like, if I saw it advertised, I'd be so annoyed because it would feel like lip service. Kind of the way that, like, Ghostbusters... I actually liked the Ghostbusters with the women, but, like...
I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I thought it was very funny. There's, like, a part of me that I bristle a little bit anytime it's like, well, this is immediately going to be progressive now because a woman is in it. When I think that movies can be just as progressive with any casting, that it has more to do with, like, the writing and the representation of all of the characters within.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a couple of different characters where I, like, what I was going to say, and then I went off on some other tangent and forgot, is that there's a lot of horrible things in the original movie, and part of what I did with the recasting is I kind of hung a lantern on them and, like, yes, this is what was done in the original version, but that's not who we are as a society anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is, I think a lot of the things that Ace Ventura does are even more unacceptable because Ace Ventura is a guy. And I feel like some of those things are slightly more acceptable if Ace Ventura is a woman. And I completely agree with everything you're saying, Lucé. I think that can certainly get in the way of people's initial reaction to it. But I think part of what makes an ideal remake is, I don't think, judging of that initial reaction, I don't really care as much. What matters more to me is that we still make a good movie. And I think in this case, I think the best way to make this movie is Ace Ventura's female and getting all up in people's grills. Like, invading personal bubbles is slightly more okay if you're a woman than if you're a dude, because if you're a dude, you're a creepy shithead. Which you can still be if you're a woman. You can still be a creepy shithead if you're a woman, but it is less likely.
That's a really interesting point. I actually like that argument a lot, because it seems like what you're saying is that even if the writing, no matter how progressive you could make the writing of a new one, just having him be an aggressive character would be a lot. Would, like, inherently make it a bummer.
Yeah.
Because of the masculinity within. Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. Although, that being said, I know we are already past this, but it just popped into my head that Billy Eichner could be an incredible Ace Ventura.
I thought about that.
I mean, if you want someone to just play an asshole, he could be Billy Eichner as... That would not be Ace Ventura. That would be Billy Eichner as Ace Ventura.
That's true. He would just be playing his character. That's true. Okay, all that being said, I think I'm leaning towards... I mean, obviously, I love my own choice. Who doesn't? I love Andy Samberg so much, and he's such an inherently good person whom I'm obsessed with. But I do really like the idea of seeing Ilana Glazer get in people's faces, because she does that, and she's so funny when she does that on Broad City. Would
you be comfortable with that, Cozi?
Sure. I haven't seen enough of her at all in general. When I think I only saw the Broad City pilot, and when I thought about her, I don't necessarily think physical comedy, but that's because I haven't watched the show.
She's very physical on the show.
Yeah, she's great.
Okay. All right, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So then with that in mind, we now kind of have context for the crazy things that we're going to do. So, how do we fix Ace Ventura? Cozi, you have a page of notes. Where do you start?
Okay, so I would make him 1,000% less wacky because it doesn't fit for right now anymore. It just feels like he's saying random catchphrases.
I tentatively agree that him just shouting random things into the streets doesn't necessarily work for me. But I like the situations he's in.
Yeah, like when he does it when he's alone, it's just crazy. He's just acting crazy for nobody.
Yeah.
And he's super prickly, like I was saying. He's just being a jerk to a lot of people in a lot of different ways, and it's hard for me to get behind that as a character who they even said had anger issues.
Yeah. He's an asshole to literally every single human being he encounters.
Yeah, and not in a good way, not in a charming way.
I think with two exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And absolutely. The two exceptions are the Finkel's parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's very nice to them. If he was at that level the whole movie, he would have not been an asshole. But he is. So, Cozi, other than just make it less wacky, what other situations do you want to see Ace Ventura in? What are the things you want to see Ace doing?
I would love to see him either solving more animal-based crimes that actually have to do with animals, or get animals out of there completely because they don't make sense in this movie. They're unnecessary for the story. It could have been anything. It's
Ace Ventura, detective?
Yeah, it could have easily been a detective comedy. Like, especially if they were patterning it around Sherlock Holmes as a comedy, like, where the animals even matter? Where could they matter?
I mean, other than premise...
They didn't have to steal a dolphin. They could have done fucking anything to put him on the trail. In the end, the dolphin didn't matter.
I mean, the crazy thing is that it is literally not an animal crime. It is just... He's just going... It's a human crime, but an animal's involved.
Right, like the police would still solve that crime. Like it was a theft of a major mascot of the NFL. Like, of course...
I mean, literally all three of the crimes he's solving are, this animal is missing. So there's the dog at the beginning where it was like her ex-boyfriend, and she lives in a gorgeous house and he lives in a shitty thing, so that's a whole separate story. But and then it's like he's trying to find this lost dove and he's trying to find a lost dolphin. So if it was me, I think he needs to be proving an animal's innocence. Like, everyone thinks this animal killed someone and is going to be euthanized, and he has to prove, or in our case, she has to prove, that this animal is in fact innocent.
Interesting.
That is, I believe, the movie. An actual pet detective instead of, say, a pet finder.
So maybe even less about pets and more about like an animal detective. Because pet is a specific word for something that doesn't seem involved in this movie either. I mean, is a mascot a pet?
No. I mean,
no, but I will say that pet detective rolls off the tongue more than animal detective. Yeah. I'm sure they focus grouped both, and I think pet detective is better. You're not wrong. I agree with everything you just said, but
I love that idea, Sam. I love the idea of two animals wronging each other. I think there's like a lot of space for wacky comedy. I love wackiness.
I didn't mean the animal killed another animal. I meant the animal killed a person.
Oh, I like the two animals against each other. I was thinking like dog fights, but something like a little more cheery.
Amazing.
I want there to be a murder, but they think the dolphin did it or something.
Okay, that's even more wacky. I love the 90s wackiness, and I want to inject that back into movies. Like, I think we need more big, broad character comedies right now. So I'm all about that idea. I actually stuck with the original theme. I don't really have a problem with the missing animal angle. I never even thought about it until this moment. I never questioned it. That was never the part I had a problem with. I think that football is boring, and I think everything having to do with football really kills the plot. As in, it's like, who gives a shit what happens to a football mascot? But
I was surprised when they said all of our teams. What are they going to do if are they going to be worried about their mascots? I'm like, what other professional football teams have a living animal as their mascot? None. No teams do that.
It's not safe. Like that wouldn't be like that doesn't even exist now. That's a whole like SeaWorld blackfish, phenomena. Well, my idea was that the animal that gets stolen is Mayor Max, the dog mayor of Idlewild.
Oh. Yeah.
And then like Idlewild is so beautiful and it's like the mountains, so it would be like very like pretty. And also if like Ace as Ilana is based in LA, like the fast talking city wild girl in Los Angeles meets like the hippie, slow, thoughtful mountain people of Idlewild, it would have a good like clashing of fish out of water kind of a vibe. And
I'm down for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if he kills a rival, like a political rival?
Yeah. So we're doing Roger Rabbit meets Welcome to Mooseport.
Yeah.
Well, I know
as Ace Ventura Pet Detective.
Roger Rabbit for a fact.
Not a fan.
We have a whole episode about it.
I know. I listened to it. You should watch the movie.
Disrecommend.
He watched it. He watched it and hated it. I have yet to watch it. I still need to watch Roger Rabbit. I've never seen Welcome to Mooseport either.
Oh, I don't recommend that. It's just a small town, and then like the big city guy comes in and is like, I think they're both running for mayor or something.
Okay. Oh,
it's
did that
Ray
come out like
Romano?
Yeah, it is Ray Romano, right?
I did see that movie. It's forgettable.
I can't remember.
I remember
yes,
it
it's
now.
not great. But I like that idea. I like the idea of big city person like coming in, and we honestly can take like the disrespect to the small town ways as part of the character. Because the honest truth is that Ace Ventura, as our lead character, has no arc. Ace Ventura at the beginning of the movie and Ace Ventura at the end of the movie are exactly the same.
Yes.
And what we can do is the arc of Ace Ventura can be like, you guys don't get it. I'm the big city pet detective. You hired me. I'm good at this. And then literally like learns to be like, all right, you guys are cool. I respect you a little bit.
I think that if we're gonna make sure that pets are really included and super still a part of this and animals are a thing, I think we need to understand his origin story a lot more, because he glossed the fuck over it in the movie. He made a joke and that was it.
Yeah, well, yeah. First of all, his joke is bad. You really love animals. If it's cold enough. Yeah.
No, I meant the Courtney Cox part where he was telling that whole fake story about the dog.
Oh, yeah, no, I hate that.
Yeah. Let's have him say why he's a fucking pet detective.
Yeah, I don't want to do like a flashback origin scene, but if there's like a legitimate, honest story, I'm cool with her telling that.
Yeah, I think it would be a cool like a 2 or 3 minute thing where it's like if they're hassling her for not understanding their ways or something, and she's like, "Listen, I built this department from my hands, from my bare hands, with all the love. Nobody gave a shit about animals. PETA's making things worse. I came in here with my knowledge as a detective and my love as an animal activist, and I combined these two things for a more powerful role. I've saved 1,000 animals in Los Angeles."
Want me
to make it darker?
Yeah.
All right. So here's my pitch for the origin story. Ace Ventura was an excellent detective, a fantastic cop, which we already can see from the original movie. But she was so good that like she also was going into she was also like working to defend people and like finding the real people, and she ended up getting someone who was in fact guilty off, and then that person went and committed murder. And so she was like heartbroken by this because like she ended up working to free someone who was guilty. And the thing about animals is that every animal is innocent.
I love
no matter
that.
What.
Yes, that's it. That's her origin story. I love it.
What if someone killed her dog? Yes, I did just pitch that this is a remake version of what's it called? Keanu Reeves movie.
John Wick.
Yeah, this is a Jane Wick.
This is Jane Wick. I mean, look, getting through that first John Wick movie was really hard because killing a dog's really sad.
It was very sad, but also pretty fast. Happened pretty quick in the movie.
It is, but also not that funny.
No.
Yes.
Actually,
But
differently funny. Not the dog killing part.
not 90s wacky zany comedy funny.
Very true, but we're remaking it now.
That's true. You're not wrong. I want to say no to a dog being murdered.
Yeah, I feel like I can't get on board, Cozi, but I appreciate that you went there.
Yeah, the enthusiasm is wonderful, and we appreciate it. And you, as a human being. No.
Perfect.
But okay, so with that in mind, let's just do a quick pitch session. What are some other animal crimes that can be solved that aren't just finding a lost animal? Just for fun. Like, if we want to have, like, other weird side stories and things going on. Like, disproving an animal committed a crime? Great. Finding a lost animal? Great. What's a third or fourth?
Maybe like an animal graffiti artist, or like an animal that like keeps walking in wet cement. And there's like the Barksy. It's like the
like an animal that keeps like messing things up, and everyone's like, we can't find this cat.
Yeah, but it's like it's sort of like beloved art at the same time. But then like all the companies are mad, so it's like corporations against like the small local animal artist.
Wow, I like it. What if a raccoon stole the Hope Diamond?
Ooh, that's like a very simple. You know what? You went simple and big, and I went very, very complex. And
I like it all.
I mean, in both cases, I think we can all agree that whatever we do this movie, the sequel is someone training animals to commit crimes. And that's the sequel.
Ooh, could it be like an Ocean's, like Ace Ventura Ocean's Ventura? Where it's all animals instead of people.
I mean,
doing a heist together.
I want that, but I think that's the that's. I hear sirens. But I think that's the arc of the Air Bud movies. Dog doing a sport. Dog doing a sport. Dog doing a sport. We're puppies and we're saving the world.
Oh, good. Yes, good point.
Which, nothing wrong with that. I think those are wonderful.
Is that what happened in Ocean's 11? They saved the world as puppies?
No. But if like we start as like solving animal crimes and then it just ends up being all animals, then we've just made pets.
Okay.
Oh no. Okay, I don't want to do that.
Or what was the movie? Dogs vs. Cats.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we haven't really talked about who the villain's going to be yet, and if it's revealed that it's actually an animal, that would be amazing.
I mean, I'm on board with that. And so what is our crime? Our crime is that someone kidnaps Max the dog, right? Or I'm sorry, frames Max the dog as a murderer.
Sure.
And so it's all about proving Max the dog didn't do this crime. Mm-hmm. So it has to be someone trying to take down Max the dog.
Yeah, it's like somebody who wants to be the mayor.
Ooh.
And it could very easily be the craziest cat lady the world has ever known. Or it could be a political rival. Or both.
I feel like there's too much shade on cat ladies. Cat ladies are great.
Yes.
I got no problem with it. That's fine. So just purely political espionage then.
I think that's fun to do a political espionage because that is totally different from the first movie, and it's.
I agree.
Has like what's that Denzel Washington remake?
Flight?
No, political. The
Manchurian Candidate? Am I guessing
Candidate.
randomly?
Yes,
Was I right?
No.
Weird.
Yeah,
Holy
it's
shit.
like a Manchurian Candidate kind of vibe.
Manchurian Candidate's a remake?
Yes. The original one had Jimmy Stewart.
Oh, I did not know that. I just assumed he was in the first one.
No.
With that in mind, I feel like we need to have so the first red herring that they throw at us is Ron Camp, which is the rich guy who's actually an animal trafficker, but he didn't traffic this animal, so he's cool. What is our first red herring in this movie? Because I feel like it's going to be someone who has a lot of dogs. Like, I feel like it could be a dog trainer. Like, someone else in, say the name of the town?
Idlewild.
Idlewild.
Thank you. This other person in Idlewild who just, like, literally so, here's the joke. Like, whenever people talk about a dog going to live at a farm in upstate, That's my farm. Here are all these dogs.
That's a great joke. I love it.
Ooh,
And it can literally be someone like it's so obvious that a dog committed this crime. Who's the other person in town who could do such good training of dogs, who's already a little bit weird, and then we go meet this person who has... It's hard to say too many dogs because I don't believe it in my heart, but too many dogs.
Maybe they have like a animal trainer for film company that was like really big in like the 80s or 90s, and it could be like really big in the 90s because there were like a lot of animal movies in the 90s, and it could be a callback to the first film. And since CGI, they haven't worked with real animals as much. So he has that kind of look of somebody who had money 20 or 30 years ago, but now everything's kind of run down and he's just kind of a hermit, but he can still like train animals really well.
Yeah, I love that. And then deep in my heart, I know that when we do that, like, I would love to have an actual animal doing tricks, but then in my head, to go wacky, they have to be ridiculous tricks, which you would have to do with CGI, and it doesn't work, and it makes me sad. But, like, in my head, I want this person to have a bunch of animals in those mocap suits, like in the green mocap suits, covered in a bunch of ping pong balls.
Or tennis balls that they're trying to eat.
Yeah, like this bear is acting opposite a tennis ball, and it is the best damn scene we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I love it. That's amazing.
He doesn't have the cred that he used to, and everyone's like, "Old Man Jenkins, the old animal trainer."
But if an animal murdered someone, all of a sudden animals are back. They can really do these things. Mm-hmm. If an animal can murder a political rival, they can also star in a movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's a good first red herring. So I'm presuming that our Melissa Robinson and our Roger Podacter are like aides to the dog, right? Like aides to Max the dog?
Yeah.
Yes. Is Melissa Robinson Courtney Cox's character?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. They're like the caretakers of Mayor Max.
Yes.
So
they love Mayor Max.
They would do anything for Mayor Max.
Yeah, and they're also kind of doing actual political things in that town, right? I would imagine.
I mean, they're probably the ones actually mayoring the town.
Yeah, because there is a figurehead in this situation, so we need to make sure we know who's really pulling the strings around here. That could end up being the real villain. They really wanted to get the credit they deserved or something. Yeah, possibilities.
Yeah, or it could be a disgraced former aide that Podacter or Melissa, probably Podacter because Podacter's the one that's killed. Like someone that Podacter actually replaced because the dog didn't like them anymore. Like they started, it was just, I just started wearing a different perfume. Because you talk about how babies and dogs, if you change your scent, they don't like you anymore because they think you're a different person. And it couldn't go back to the way it was, and this person was fired, and they used to run the town, and now they're nothing. Nothing! And it's because Max rejected me. If a dog doesn't like you, you're a bad person. No!
Yes, that's so great. And then to clarify, is it that Max is framed for killing another person? Is someone dead in the
political
beginning?
rival. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So somebody is dead.
Oh, yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
So who would be a legitimate political rival in this situation if Max is the real figurehead that everybody loves? Would it be did people decide that it's time to no longer have a dog figurehead?
Yeah, I like to think that there's a part of the town that's this is ridiculous, and people, and because it's a whole thing for tourism right now, and it could be people we have real thing, we have the mountains, we have these beautiful views, these gorgeous vineyards that are here, because it's also wine country there. It's
Right.
we don't need to have a dog. This cheapens the beauty that we have. This makes this seem like a circus show or something. So it could be this aspect of it could be an aspect of town that's very serious,
It's true. Here's my pitch.
Snooty.
I would presume that the dog is the leftist candidate.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely.
the right candidate we could totally treat as a Trump stand-in, and then we get to murder Trump, and that would be fun.
Yeah, I love it.
And it's someone who's let's make Idlewild great again. No more dogs, just people in charge. It's what you want. This is the accent I'll definitely have in the movie.
Oh,
In the picture.
Is
I feel
Stacy
like I'd rather-
Keach still alive? I feel like Stacy.
I don't know who that is.
I don't believe so, no. I believe I heard that he died at some point.
Oh damn, he would be
But I
so
might be
good
wrong.
in that role.
I guess my question then is, would we rather have that be the person who dies and we're trying to solve that person's murder, or would we rather have the Trump stand-in as a villain because we don't like him?
Well, no, because I want the person to be a true, because we can have the political rival be killed, and that's a big thing, but then the person who did it is for their own political gain.
Right.
I still
Well, the
like
person
the
who
idea
did the
that-
killing is like the people who own Max, right? Because they want to get rid of the political rival.
Ooh.
maybe,
Or would that be another red herring?
But again, that's the framing aspect. Like, you would think it would be them and or Max, but it was really Einhorn who was doing it for the purposes of framing them.
Right.
Einhorn might not like this dude also because he's a monster for separate reasons.
And I think we could keep Einhorn as a member of the police department. I think that's one of the few things that works about it.
Yeah,
Double agent.
Literally, Einhorn could have been security detail for Max until she couldn't be security detail for Max anymore.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And, that was such a step down, and that's literally, you're rejected by a dog. What are you even
that's
gonna
what
do?
you're talking about the perfume change.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
How about that?
I like that a lot.
Yeah, let's
Cool.
give it a shot.
Yeah, I really like that because one of the things that always bothered me, I mean, we know flat out that it's transphobic and it's, there's not a lot more to say about it. It's a really abusive reveal. One of the things that bothered me, aside from that, is that it's so unnecessary. That person could have just been a double agent. It could have, they didn't have to, without even doing the reveal, and it could have just been this person is it's already, they act like the mystery is that it's crazy that it's a gender reassignment and not just that it's a double agent. You know what I mean? They put a hat on a hat.
Right,
really
it
did.
literally
It was so
serves no
unnecessary.
purpose other than being this is gross, right, guys?
Yeah.
God, and everybody's reactions were so heightened for the sake of comedy, but instead just revealed stuff about their fears on sexuality.
Yeah,
Well,
that
yeah.
scene lasts for so long. I didn't remember
It's-
how long it was.
And it happens twice.
Yep.
Jim
Yeah.
Carrey does it where he's burning his clothes and he's naked in the shower crying. He's like, I kissed a man, naked in the shower crying. So there's the
Right.
homophobia. And then we get to the thing at the end where it's Einhorn's a man. And then they're all spitting. The only way that joke works is if, because in my head I was like, the only way this joke works is if Einhorn kissed all of them.
Which is kind
Which
of
is a whole
funny.
separate funny thing, but we're
Yeah.
losing it in the homophobia and the transphobia.
Right, and it still
that's
doesn't
a
work.
funny
It just-
bit,
Yeah.
but
But yeah, it doesn't work in the same way that a normal heightened response for comedy would work because it says so many shitty things about them as people.
right.
Yes.
I agree.
And if
Yeah,
they,
the
and
90s were
here's
a
the
bad
thing.
time.
Yeah, if we want to say that all cops are bad, we can do that in a lot easier ways.
Yes, exactly. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't make cops bad. And the thing that too is interesting about it being misogynist is before it's the reveal, she is just shown as a ball buster, tough lady cop, and he hates her for being tough. And so that
Which
sucks.
she does a great fucking job too.
Yeah,
Sean
Sean
Young kills
Young.
it in this.
She really does.
She did great. It's amazing the different things that that Sean Young's done just because I didn't necessarily recognize her.
Sure.
I mean, this role was beneath her.
Decidedly yes.
Yeah, literally almost
But she
anybody.
does a great job at it.
Yes,
She
I love
kills
the
it.
character.
Yeah,
the
I got nothing
character is
against
really
her.
funny.
100%. The character was great. She was great in it. We just didn't need all the other bullshit.
Yeah. So we agree with that. And then there's a whole scene where it's the person went nuts, and we literally just have the scene at the mental facility so we can make fun of mentally challenged people, which is not good. But
What that was to learn
I kind of want to
about-
cut that entirely.
Yeah, because that was to learn about Finkel, right? What
Yeah.
happened to him, sort of. Okay,
There's so
Yeah,
many better
it's-
ways. He could have just been like, "Hey, do you have any of this person's stuff? We're cops, so fucking show it to us."
Yeah.
It wouldn't have needed to be subterfuge. Let's get in there.
if we want to reveal that Einhorn is crazy, and especially if we want to have that laces out joke, if it's like based on the perfume, we can literally find this person with a lab of all these different kinds of scents and just systematically trying to figure out what the best scent is to appeal to specific animals. And then we can have like this person's an even bigger villain because they're like, this person's been stealing bears and skunks and raccoons and dogs to try to make them love him or her.
I like that. So that's Einhorn in this role. And then, if they were like private security detail for Mayor Max, and then Mayor Max didn't like them anymore and they had to leave, like, what have they been doing? Are they doing something else now? Are they pretending to be helpful?
You guys
still?
wanted them to go. You guys wanted them to go back and rejoin the police force. I'm perfectly happy with that. Like, this person could be not necessarily the head of the police department, but like this aggrieved police officer who just literally the precinct laughingstock.
I think that they should want to be helpful on this case, though. You know, like, I think they should be very sympathetic and be like, "Hey, look, I'm coming to you, Ace, because I used to work with Max, and I'm open. I'm an open book. I'm here to help." You know, so that they work really closely together. It's part of it being like a.
I'm good with that. I agree with that.
Not expecting it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I still have the Courtney Cox Melissa character kind of being the straight man, straight woman in the character because we need someone to balance out the zaniness.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm perfectly happy throwing the Einhorn character in there too. Like especially as someone who's like, I mean, you're a person from another town. There's no one that knows this town better than a beat cop. I will go with you.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, that makes sense. Plus, an Idlewild nothing probably happens anyway.
Yeah, that's
Probably
the
a
whole
pretty
reason
quiet
why
place.
the dog is a mayor, because there's like not many people there and nothing ever happens.
Yeah, so I imagine the real
Sounds
chief
great.
of police is bored as fuck.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, this person could literally be the only... No, because I want him to be the laughingstock. But yeah, I agree. So then with that in mind, then then Pedactor can be killed, and it's framed to be a suicide, but it could also they're killed because they found out that it was Einhorn. That's fine.
Like pushed off a mountain, maybe?
Yeah.
Feels very
The only other
Idlewild.
character that I want to have is I want to kind of have that asshole other cop who's going in and making fun of Ace, and I guess in this case Einhorn.
Yeah.
And I just someone else to have.
That's like a new character.
No, that it's
Who's the other asshole?
It was the
Sergeant
it was the
Aguado?
large guy. Aguado,
That's right.
thank you, Sergeant.
That's right. Thank you.
I misspelled Sergeant. Instead of doing SGT, I wrote AGT, and I was like, Agent Aguado? That doesn't seem right. But yeah, Sergeant Aguado. So then with that in mind, in terms of plot and structure, is there anything else we're missing?
Oh, good question.
Well, I think that we could do the laces out scene, and that Einhorn's whole lab can be at their parents' house. So when Ace and Einhorn are because if Einhorn's coming forth and being let me help you, and they're kind of becoming friends to work on this case together, I assume Ace would go to Einhorn's place, right? So you don't see all that stuff there. But there could be, because that's one of my favorite scenes, because I guess it's slightly making fun of a crazy, quote unquote, person, but I think it's really weird because it shoehorned this very dark element into the plot. It's a very dark scene.
Yeah, it's very dark, and I don't disagree. I kind of like it also used the parents and then abandoned them once, just done.
Yeah, and
And,
have them be sweet and have it be this very frightening, mad scientist lab moment. And maybe there are still things written on the wall. I just kind of a classically mad scientist.
Love it. I think that's great.
You could do the windows with all the equations and things written on them.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great.
Dog equals love with a slash on the equal sign.
Yeah, good. Amazing. Cool.
I wonder if... never mind. We're good.
Okay, so then do you want to get into casting?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, great. So we're going to be getting to casting our Ace Ventura remake. Ace Ventura is already going to be played by Ilana Glazer. So now let's start with the person... And there aren't that many characters in this movie who have, more than 5 lines. I think I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people total.
Okay, I just recasted Einhorn and Melissa's character.
Okay. Cozi, did you have more than...
Yeah, I had a bunch of people in there who may or may not analog over.
Love it. We'll get into it. We'll get...
Yeah.
Then let's start with Melissa then. Cozi, who did you have for Melissa?
Start with Lucé because I felt like she was too thinly written.
Sorry, I would love to have Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Ooh, yes,
Melissa.
please.
All right, here's my thought about that. I cast the exact same person.
This is a rough one.
Really?
How are we going to solve it?
Yeah, I literally cast the exact same person because she's so good in Birds of Prey as just kind of being like this blank slate, and just watching craziness just wash over her.
Yeah.
She's perfect for it.
I love her in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
I mean, she's good in basically everything she's ever done.
She's perfect in everything. She's
She
a really
does
good
great
she's a straight person in Scott Pilgrim also.
I mean, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And so, obviously Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and we both came up with the same person. It's perfect. That's happening.
So wild. I love that.
It happens every once in a while, and every time it does, it just tickles me.
Yeah, it really feels like it's meant to be.
Yeah. All right, so then so Cozi, the reason why I thought that character was because we need a straight man.
Yeah, I don't want her gotten rid of. I just wish they wrote her better.
Yeah, well, if it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead, they will.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking hope so. I really do.
Yeah. So then let's talk about Einhorn. Who did y'all have for Einhorn?
So I thought it would be interesting to actually cast a trans actress in this role, but not have it ever be a reveal and have it never be about them being trans, but just have that as a nod to this sucked and this role deserves a real trans actress should be in this role to make up for the sins of the past. What do you think about that? Well, there's
who did you have?
I have a couple. So I have two different people. I have Trace Lizette from Transparent, and I have Jamie Clayton from Sense8.
Got it. All right. Those are both good choices. My logic was exactly the same.
Okay.
The exact same reasons. But I had Laverne Cox.
Okay. Yes. So I thought about Laverne Cox, and then I was like, that felt like she's so big, I felt like I do like the idea of having a person of color though, because so far it's a very white cast.
Yeah, I was trying, the problem is I was trying to find someone for that zaniness for Ace as a person of color, but I just couldn't make it work. But I have a couple people of color sprinkled in a few more places, but yes, I like diversifying it up. We are going to a small town, but who gives a shit? Let's cast interesting people of, yeah. But I also agree with your first, I do like the idea of making it a trans person and then never addressing that at all, ever.
Exactly.
But Cozi, who did you have for Einhorn?
I was thinking about that too, and I couldn't decide if it, accidentally gave legitimacy to the shittiness of the first movie or not.
That's fair. That's a real concern.
Yeah, it's a tough call. If it's framed right, anything can be done well. It just has to be framed right. My only thought on it was Sean Young's, a better... Sean Young now, so she doesn't have to deal with the bullshit humiliation at the end of the movie, and kind of the short end of the stick they gave her in that one. Because
I really hope that's not a pun, Cozi.
Nothing ever is. No such thing. But also, just because, I was thinking... I don't know. I don't know. I hate how age is such a stupid factor, but shouldn't be. And I was like, yeah, she's a high up person in the police force. Age should not be a factor in any way. She's killing it. I don't know. I'd love to see her do it now.
Yeah,
I'm okay with anything, honestly.
Well,
she was
I was
the
thinking
last
about.
choice.
I was actually thinking about age, and Jamie Clayton is 42, which was a little younger than Sean. It was about Sean Young's age when she was in Ace Ventura.
Really?
Because I was like. Yeah, getting some. Yeah, she wasn't. Sean Young was in her mid or late 40s, wasn't she?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Well,
Shrug.
anyways,
we believe you.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay.
So,
but
yes.
I do like the idea of having it be a trans person. I completely see where you're coming from, Cozi. And I don't want it to be someone who transitioned over the course of these events. I just want it to happen to be a trans actor, and it's just like this is a franchise that was shitty to the trans community. Let's try to promote people in the trans community instead.
As long as it doesn't feel like it's forgiving implicitly by casting that person in it. Like, would casting a trans person, would them accepting that role be a concession?
That's a great question.
That's a good question, and I feel like we would need to ask someone in the trans community.
That's the key right there. None of us can really answer it.
Yeah. I would say tentatively, and obviously that one performer wouldn't be able to speak for the entire trans community either.
Also true.
The thing that I like to go back to is I did what was it? Do either of you know Chris Lord?
I don't.
Okay, he's involved in the comedy community as well, and he was a guest on my podcast for a couple deep dive episodes. We did a deep dive on Superman, and we did a deep dive into James Bond. And one of the things, and Chris happens to be gay, but one of the things he talks about was he wants more gay representation. But one of the things that's important for representation is that there's a lot of gay-coded villains that aren't necessarily gay. Like, Disney does that a lot.
Yes.
And one of the things that you'll know that you'll have actual representation is when someone there can be a gay person as a villain, and they're not a villain because they're gay. They are a gay person who happens to be a villain, and the who happens to be a blank is never good, and I'm not a big fan of that. But one of the steps towards positive representation is kind of reclaiming the roles that were generally used for subjugation. Mm-hmm. Which I don't know if I'm wording that right, and he certainly worded it better than I did. But I think if you treat the role with respect, I think any role can be a good role if it's treated with respect and not treated as stunt casting or making fun of that community. And so that's why I do think it's important to recast, or not recast, to recast this as an actual trans person, because this is a franchise that was like, this is what trans people are like, and now it can be like, no, this is what this individual trans person is like.
And I
don't know.
think,
I'm wording this poorly. I know.
I know what you're
it's also the
say.
It's also the cis white dude saying all these things. So whatever I'm saying is garbage, regardless.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, and it's just the kind of thing where it's like, this is a movie that maybe doesn't deserve to be remade because of what it's already done.
Right.
And
yeah,
so
that was how I felt about 16 Candles, but whatever.
Right,
but we did that episode too.
No, but that's the conceit of the show. So there's something to be said for, like, if this is going to be done, what's the best possible way to make up for all of the wrongdoing it did? Because, like we were talking about, the transphobia and the trans abuse is the most evident and the most disgusting, but it's also laden with homophobia and misogyny as well. So
yeah,
I think a lot
and
of
I think if you could put those kinds of characters in the same places, and then the thing about Hollywood is Hollywood leads by example. Like, things that, like, oh, this is funny and satire. Like, part of the reason I have a big problem with Joker, which is a whole separate thing, is because there are going to be people who don't get it and like, oh, that's imitatable. Like, I also am not a big fan of South Park, not because I don't think South Park isn't brilliant, but because when I was in high school, I was bullied because of South Park.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just think Hollywood has a responsibility to, like, this is how we treat other humans. Like, we're not, I think it's just, don't be a dick.
I also think that,
although we are making a movie about a dick. The important thing is that joke works and the build-up was worth it.
I think, too, with remakes, a lot of times, sometimes the newer one replaces the older one. And
that's true.
It doesn't always work. Obviously, that's not like what happened with Ghostbusters, but I think with, like, a lot of horror movies, there's a lot of people that don't know when certain horror movies are remade because they're remade off of, like, a Vincent Price film from the 50s or something.
Manchurian Candidate.
So it's like,
Manchurian Candidate.
Exactly. That's the perfect. So, like, if we were going to replace Ace Ventura, we would want something that showed the best of everybody. And I think in general, trans people should just be casted in all roles. Like, actresses and actors of all genders deserve to be cast. And so and again,
none of us are really in that community and can't really comment, but yes, I agree with you, and I think that's the wokest we could possibly be with this moment.
I would fear. I definitely agree that like stunt casting would be a concern, but I fear the erasure of having it be a cis person. It's I feel like it's acting as if it didn't exist. It's about saying, well, like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. We did it bad, and let's just act like it didn't happen.
Too. Yeah, that's true too.
I think that's a good argument.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So with that in mind, Cozi, you're not familiar with either of them. Lucé, of your two choices, who do you think would be best in this role?
I think I'm leaning towards Jamie Clayton.
All right. Cozi, are you comfortable with that?
Sure.
Done. Jamie Clayton as Lieutenant Lois Einhorn. Or Lieutenant Einhorn, whatever.
Yes.
Cool. So, Lucé, that ends the list of actors you recast.
Yes, I didn't. I only did the main ones there.
That's fine. So that brings me to Emilio, the cop friend. Cozi, did you have someone for that?
Yeah. For Emilio, I had Randall Park.
Oh, fun.
Cozi, you're not gonna fucking believe this.
Did I win? Did we do it? Hey, we're killing it.
I also cast Randall Park.
This is beautiful.
That's
Meant
crazy.
To be.
I would
That is so nuts. I don't even know. I don't even know. It's oh my god. That's amazing, and I love you.
Thank you, Sam. We're all doing
Randall
good work.
Park and Ilana Glazer together, I think, would be very funny.
Oh hell yeah! I'm sure they've been together before in various things because of like the New York comedy scene. Anyway.
Absolutely. Right. Oh my god, I can't believe that just happened.
So funny. Wait, was Randall Park California comedy scene or New York comedy scene? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. The important thing is we're both genius people.
There we go.
So then the next person I had was Roger Podacter, and I'm now realizing that I'm going to have to kill this man, and that makes me sad. So did you have someone for Roger Podacter?
Yeah, but it was just like whoever I thought kind of looked like the actor from back then, and that's Dave Bautista.
Oh God. So the actor I had is Ron Funches.
Oh, Ron would be super fun.
And I have him because
so sad.
Yes, I agree. It would be very sad. And I just think he's a delightful man, but he's also very funny and like can kind of like be taking all of the zaniness with a grain of salt. And like instead of it being kind of this faceless dude, we're like, wait, who's dead now? It'll be like, what? Ron Funches? No.
Oh, that's a good
call. It would be a death that means something instead of we don't give a shit about this guy. Hey, Jim Carrey's gonna go bang Courtney Cox now. It's gonna be great.
Oh, good lord! Yeah, no
we're
one can
getting
bang
rid of
anyone.
that scene, right?
The banging while all the animals watch.
Yeah, I really hate that scene.
Yeah, it's
no
not
one
a
can
good
bang
scene.
anyone after Ron Funches dies.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
good.
absolutely not.
Those are the rules.
Those are
good.
the rules.
So then I had two more. I had Sergeant Aguado and Ron Camp. Cozi, did you have anyone other than those two?
Other than those two, I did not have anyone. I didn't care about Ron Camp at all.
I wanted someone for the red herring. So we'll get to him in a second. Who did you have for Sergeant Aguado?
I was trying to think of someone who I've seen in movies be a jerk to people, like, but not a smart jerk, so he can still be topped by the jerk we like. And like, I was mostly coming up empty, but I also thought maybe Walton Goggins from one of the from one of the from one of the Tarantino movies where he's a jerk and also wrong.
He was in Hateful Eight and he was in Django Unchained.
Yeah, I can't remember who I hated him in.
I love him in Justified.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's an excellent choice, and I love your logic behind it. My logic was similar. I wanted someone who could be absolutely cutting while still being legitimately funny instead of just being like another asshole. So that's why I went with Wanda Sykes.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah.
So, but because
I feel like she would be more likely to be right, though. I don't know. I don't want someone who's so legitimately cutting that they're correct. I want someone who can be. I want someone who can be topped like an idiot.
That is a fair argument. I like that argument a lot.
Yeah.
So, because Lucé, you don't have someone for this role, between Walton Goggins and Wanda Sykes, where are you leaning?
Well, I love the idea of Wanda Sykes because she's a delight and I want to see her in more things. But I really liked Cozi's argument about how I do feel like you agree with Wanda Sykes. She doesn't have a way of being the enemy. She feels like
she's never wrong.
I think it was an excellent point, and I agree. So,
yeah, and I love Walton Goggins because he's like believable to have like cred, but at the same time he's slimy enough to want to knock him down a peg.
Yeah, I want to see Ilana Glazer destroy him.
Yeah. So then the last character is Ron Camp, and I'm the only one who has someone for that. So I wanted someone who kind of like plays the... Well, again, the way he is in the original movie is he's kind of this like smarmy asshole.
Mm-hmm. This will be the animal trainer, right?
In this case, we flipped it, and now it's an animal trainer, and I kind of find this slightly more delightful. But I cast someone who is kind of often the asshole. Like, he's literally played the devil. He's a man in his 70s, so he kind of fits our, like, kind of was popular and now he's not. And that's why I went with Ray Wise. Wise. Ray Wise.
I mean, I believe.
That's an interesting choice.
We should ask his daughter, because she's in the comedy scene.
Oh, yeah?
She is?
Yeah, I believe that's his daughter, Emily Wise.
Oh, I love
Kind of wise. What am I saying? Kind of wise. Jesus Christ, Cozi.
It's possible. I don't know. But, like, he's had an amazing career. He was on Twin Peaks. I first saw him on Reaper. He's in the new Sabrina. He's in Fresh Off the Boat. Mm-hmm. And he plays bad dudes. And so, like, that's why I like the idea of, like, he plays bad dudes, but he seems like a legitimately nice guy just in life. Mm-hmm. And so I think it would be fun to, like, that's why he's the red herring.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
that's a great idea. Great. He plays a good guy in the new Gilmore Girls, A Year in the Life.
Ooh. Oh, that's fun.
Miniseries, yeah. I think that's a really fun choice.
Cool.
So I want to throw out there, what do we think about having a celebrity cameo? Because, like, who's the Dan Marino?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I don't know.
I was thinking about it, but then I was like, I didn't even know who to even start with because I didn't know what plot we would go with. But
well, if we're setting this in Idlewild, aside from Max the dog, I don't think it should be a politician because I don't want to have a Parks and Rec supporting Joe Biden situation on our hands.
I'm sorry, wait, what? Did Google something?
Well, Parks and Rec, when Parks and Rec was running, like, Leslie Knope had a huge crush on Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that. And
now I think looking back, they're like... Because, like, literally everyone on the show was like, no, Elizabeth Warren. We're supporting Elizabeth Warren. Don't you vote for Joe... No. Damn it.
Yes. Okay, good point. That's a really...
which, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden in the general election anyway, but I'm going to not like it. But that's a whole separate issue. But I agree. I think we should just have, like, a general celebrity. And I'd like the idea of, who's a kind of celebrity who would go and just abandon everything and go live in the woods at a small town?
John Cusack.
Okay.
He's not out there. We never see him. And all he's done for the past year is tweet about Bernie.
I'm okay with that. That's funny. Are you okay with that, Cozi?
I want John Cusack in everything all the time.
I love the idea of him just, like, coming out of a weird cabin when, like, Ilana Glazer knocks on his door looking for answers.
Oh, yeah,
I love that. I will add one addendum. I want them to have their whole scene with John Cusack, and then as they're leaving, we see Joan Cusack just chopping wood.
Yes!
We wave, and then keep moving.
Yes. The Cusack siblings live together in a cabin in Idlewild. My favorite new urban legend.
Also a great sitcom.
Really.
That's also true. Cool. So that brings us to our writer and our director, unless you have a writer-director. Do you guys have people for this?
I do.
Go for it.
Cozi, do you want to get us started with writer?
Sure. Why not? I was thinking Michael Bacall from 21 Jump Street and Scott Pilgrim.
I mean, based on who we cast, that's good. That's a good choice. That's hard to argue with.
Thank you.
I went with someone from... so my writer is Susanna Fogel from Booksmart and The Spy Who Dumped Me. And the reason I went with her is because in my head I'd already like, oh yeah, it'll be a female lead, and I wanted to write like a female positive comedy movie. I don't know. She might not be kind of the zany comedy we're looking for though.
Yeah, Booksmart feels very different in tone.
It's very different. So I'm perfectly happy to go with, say your guy's name again?
Michael Bacall. Lucé, who you got?
I was thinking about, and you know what? I'm not sure how much she has written before, but I think she's a really incredible comedy writer in general. I was thinking about Jessica Williams.
Oh.
As
long as we're referencing Booksmart.
Oh, right. She is at Booksmart. So, she's done a lot for, she's a stand-up. So she hasn't written a script, I don't think. She's done a lot of sketch and stand-up.
I do love Jessica Williams, but yeah, I think that's a...
Oh, she actually is the writer of an Untitled Jessica Williams project. And she wrote...
that doesn't surprise me.
She did write on Two Dope Queens. So she's a television writer. And I also thought about Katie Dippold. She felt like kind of an easy choice, but...
I get that.
Jessica Williams only has one writing credit, and it's as in the Untitled Jessica Williams project. Tell me about Katie Dippold. I actually don't know who that is off the top of my head.
Oh, she did Ghostbusters and The Heat. She's a UCB alum. She did that really terrible movie with, she's kind of a Snapped with Amy.
I don't know it.
Okay, well... It's not.
I'm perfectly happy to go with Katie Dippold because she perfect. Go ahead.
She's also a Parks and Rec writer.
There you go.
Yeah. If you're comfortable with that, I'm comfortable with that, Cozi.
I love Katie Dippold. I don't think that I would necessarily be excited about. I don't know though. It's a tough call. I liked The Heat. I thought that one was great. But I didn't love Ghostbusters. You know what? Let's give it a shot. I'm in.
So part of the reason
for me, but I'm in.
Yeah, part of the reason why I'm interested in Katie Dippold, and I think that works really well, is because the director I have is Paul Feig.
Oh,
who directed Heat.
Yeah, and Ghostbusters.
And Ghostbusters and Freaks and Geeks. But I picked Paul Feig specifically because he directed Spy.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Spy. I think Spy is an amazing movie.
Yes, I really love Spy.
And in the same way that Spy is kind of a satirical take on the spy movie, what we're creating is a satirical take on the detective, the Sherlock Holmes story.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a little bit, but if we kind of take the same energy, because Spy is crazy and zany and fun, if we take that energy and we make it here for Ace Ventura, I think that's a guaranteed smash success. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I thought Paul Feig.
Great.
But who did you guys have?
So I also had Kay Cannon. So
always a good choice.
I thought about her. Perfect, right? I also thought about her as doing writer and director. But I was trying to figure out, could we do two different to get more, people involved. But she wrote and directed Blockers. And what was the other movie she directed? I loved Blockers. I thought it was such a fun, different film. And she worked with all young people, which I think was really impressive. And if we're trying
I love Pitch Perfect. Pitch Perfect is an amazing movie.
Yeah, so I don't think she directed Pitch Perfect, though. I think she was just the writer of the Pitch Perfect movies. So, that's an option, too, if we want to have her as a writer instead of Katie Dippold.
I don't know. She jumps back and forth, because, she writes this thing where I really enjoyed it, and then she directed this one where we really enjoyed the... I don't know.
She also did a lot of 30 Rock stuff. That's always good.
30 Rock and New Girl.
Yeah, and, that's...
also true.
I like a 30 Rock style of humor for this.
We could do her writing and then her and Paul Feig co-directing.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Cozi, who do you have?
Again, with the 21 Jump Street people, I had Phil Lord and Christopher Miller.
Yeah, they come up a lot. They're great.
Yeah, I'm going to say, to me, the best, a very good version of this is one that does a better job of 21 Jump Streeting it as a cop comedy than Jim Carrey did, or than Ace Ventura did. because it felt like a failed cop comedy on some level, where they did, to me, the most successful one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Katie Dippold, The Heat is a great cop comedy.
I like that one too. It's been a while for me, but I like that one too. And like, I really loved the other guys, but Adam McKay's off to other things.
Yeah, I really just think this is a strong female cast. I mean, all of our main characters are women. Like, in order for this to be good, if we want this to be progressive and like radical, and a woman needs to write this. I think Ilana Glazer could even write it. You know, she wrote Broad City. True. I think that we need to have a woman as a writer, if not, it's not as necessary for directing, but I think the jokes aren't going to be good if they're not.
What if Ilana Glazer is co-writing it in the same way that Jim Carrey co-wrote this screenplay and no other screenplays?
I think that's only because he improvised so much on set that he had to get a writing credit.
He created the character, so I think that was how he got a writing credit.
It literally might even be a character from some other thing. Like, it might be an In Living Color character, but I don't remember.
A lot of it's based on Fireman, etc., etc.
Yeah. I'm perfectly happy having this thing being written by Katie Dippold and then directed by Lord and Miller. I know that's not how they normally work, but why not?
Who's that person?
Phil Lord and Chris Miller?
Yeah, those are the guys who did the 21 Jump Street guys, who also did the Lego movie and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and stuff.
Okay.
First of all, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is a perfect movie, and I defy anyone to tell me otherwise.
It's a very good movie. It's funnier than I thought it would be.
It's funnier than it has any right to be. It is so good.
I don't know. I kind of hung up on that one. I don't necessarily think
I agree
that's strong.
The thing with Lord and Miller is that they are recommended and so well regarded. Like, they've done a bunch of stuff. Like, let me pull them up.
I know they did the Into the Spider-Verse, right? And they're doing the new Spider-Verse.
They did Into the Spider-Verse.
They did both of them. I just that's not really this vibe, I feel like. I don't want a pop culture heavy movie. Like, I think that's been done, and I think it's exhausting, and I'm sick of jokes being references.
That's a great call, absolutely.
That's fair.
They're just so not my style that I can't. I like 22 Jump Street just fine, but I don't think that they're interesting directors.
Yeah, I get that. That's fair.
Okay.
Like,
so then,
I think that Paul Feig is Paul Feig is like one of the best comedy directors, and he also like works exclusively with women and like female stories. So if we're going to pick,
which is why I wanted to pull him,
then I feel like he is a great man to pick. I just don't think that having a female cast, like, I don't think it's enough. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I tried to find like a good female director who's done kind of the zany comedy, just because one of the things I want to avoid is kind of like the male gazy kind of thing, especially for a female-led movie.
There aren't that many women that do big, broad comedy directing.
The problem is, I'm sure there are, and I'm sure a lot of them are in television, and I just haven't found their name. And
that's what I'm saying. They haven't done movies.
We're the problem. But I'm like, again, Paul Feig is my suggestion. I'm perfectly happy to do Katie Dippold and Paul Feig, especially because they've worked together, and especially because they have that relationship, and Paul Feig already is very good at like promoting female leads. That works for me. I'm perfectly happy to do that.
That's where I'm leaning. What do you think, Cozi?
I think that if we had a Paul Feig and a Katie Dippold movie, then maybe, I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't a big Ghostbusters fan in terms of the comedy of it, which is a bummer to say. But I think that if the comedy from that was translated over to this, it would not work for me. But if they did The Heat together, then I'd be down. Did they do The Heat together?
Yeah, it was like they worked The Heat first.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe. You know what? I'll say yes for the sake of hoping for a heatier movie, which they probably would make this heatier because it's, a remake of this.
Yeah, I honestly think Ghostbusters was set up to fail because it's just so hard to do that.
Yeah, and they felt the need to like shoehorn in all these other people.
Yeah.
The best thing about the Lady Ghostbusters is that it was kind of an unofficial other space reunion, but that's also a separate thing, and I recast Mother Space a lot. But Cozi, if it makes you feel better, he doesn't just do, like, kind of the crazy, zany comedy. Like, he also did 2018's A Simple Favor.
Which one was that?
Which is the Anna Kendrick, Blake Lively movie.
Yeah, that didn't look like a thing I would have liked.
No, it's definitely not. You won't like it. Don't watch it. But it's a good movie. And people...
Yeah, I don't know.
Good things. I think that he's a funny person who's done a lot of good things. So, like, I'm not against him as a person who's.
You know who I wish was alive to direct this movie? Like, actual dream directing for me. I would love it if Penny Marshall could do it.
That's what you were asking earlier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, he also did Bridesmaids.
Yeah, that was a funny movie.
I love Bridesmaids.
But okay, so we've got our cast, and I don't think I missed anything that either of you had cast, right? That, like, we've gone through your lists.
Yeah.
I think the only other thing I had on my list in general was that I don't understand how he caught a bullet in his teeth.
Yeah, that was dumb.
I would cut that or explain it.
I'm good with just cutting it because it's dumb.
Perfect. Also, the other thing that I wanted to mention is that there is an actor in the real movie named Rain or Shine.
What?
It's a fucking terrible name, and I'm angry about that pun, Rain or Shine. And another guy named Tiny Ron.
I'm okay with Tiny Ron. Rain or Shine is...
It's an awful pun.
Tentative.
He was the guy at the Cannibal Corpse show.
Got it.
Oh, fine.
Then let me take you through our cast. Ace Ventura, Animal Detective.
Thank you.
Ace Ventura is going to be played by Ilana Glazer. Melissa Robinson will be Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Lieutenant Einhorn will be Jamie Clayton. Emilio will be Randall Park. Roger Podacter will be Ron Funches. Sergeant Aguado will be Walton Goggins. With celebrity cameos by John Cusack and Joan Cusack living in a cabin out in the woods of Idlewild. And then our red herring rich guy is going to be Ray Weiss.
And Randall Park is there too, right?
Yeah, I said that. Emilio the cop friend.
Nice.
All of this will be written by Katie Dippold and then directed by Paul Feig. That is Ace Ventura. So, are you guys going to go see this movie, Cozi?
Yeah, I'll give it a try.
All right, that's all we needed. Lucé, will you also go see this movie?
Oh, definitely. I'm sold. I was already into it early on. Now I'm really into it.
Cool. All right, fun. We did it. We made a movie. So then in that case, time for self-promotion. Talk about things that you want to promote. Talk about your podcast again. Talk about social medias. You have the mics.
Oh, great. Well, yeah, listen to me and Cozi's podcast, You Need to See This, about underrated cinematic gems. We have a movie every week that we discuss in depth that we think people should see, and it's spoiler-free. So you can listen to it if you haven't seen the movies.
Find us on Apple Podcasts and Anchor.fm. Find us on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram. We're all over social media, etc.
Yes.
What's an episode you would recommend?
Well, my favorite episode that we actually did recently, we did Call Me By Your Name last week, and I've listened to it a couple times, and I love it. We did it with our audio engineer, Pete Burns. He and I, it's one of our favorite movies, and I really like that episode.
That was a very sweet episode.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Nice. And I'd recommend 8th grade because I love 8th grade.
Yeah.
Great.
And yeah, we're at Need to See Pod on Instagram and on Twitter.
And then do you have personal social medias?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at LTB Comedy. Those are my initials.
Great.
And I got none.
Excellent. I respect that. Okay, so if you want to follow me, I am at Sam Gasch, SAMGASCH on Twitter. If you want to follow the podcast, it's on Twitter as well, but mostly Instagram, at Ideal Remake. We're also on Facebook at Ideal Remake or Ideal Remake Podcast. Ideal Remake Podcast. And we're also up on YouTube. I have been quarantine productive, and I have gotten every episode of the podcast up on YouTube because there are apparently people who prefer that. And if you're one of those people and you're listening now, I love you. Thank you for listening.
Amazing.
And no matter where you're listening, on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, whatever, if you would take the time to leave us a 5-star review or just write a kind review, those are wonderful, and I always appreciate it, and and again, I would be very grateful. So yeah. So I've been ending the podcast this way. Lucé, Cozi, what is your favorite quote from Ace Ventura, Pet Detective?
Like a glove. That's my favorite.
Let's go with that.
Perfect.